Well, good evening. My name's Warren G. I'm an operating partner at Cairngorm Capital. So I guess the first thing out of tonight, I'm delighted to be elevated out of a second-class citizen. So we've been working with the WAN and the EXM guys now for 4 or 5 months. So just going to spend the last sort of 10 minutes of the session just sharing our experience and some thoughts around that. So first, I guess a little bit about me. As I said, I'm an operating partner for Cairngorm Capital. Cairngorm Capital has been around now for the best part of 3 years, I guess. We're very focused on working with companies, perhaps in what Andy, our founder over there, would call the young glamorous industries. We've got timber companies, PVC window businesses in our portfolio. So it's the types of business perhaps that are not particularly sophisticated, but that we think there's a lot of value to be created in there. As part of the Cairngorm stable, I've got the privilege of chairing our online business, Building Supplies Online. It's one of the fastest growing e-commerce or pure play e-commerce businesses in the UK, specialising in organising the delivery of building supplies. And with that business, we're really combining best practice technology with a real service ethos, and what we're seeing there is an enormous growth and a great trajectory, and that's the company that we've been really focused on the use of EXM in. Before that, I sort of ran companies. I guess the most notable there being a company FNZ, which we grew from 4 guys sitting in a dark room in Wellington up to a global market leader, and that was learning a lot about private equity backing along the way. So it has some relevance to this. The typical challenges that we face at Cairngorm Capital with our investments is, we do focus on sort of proprietary off-market deals. So a lot of the businesses we end up investing in are not really ready for investment. They're often founder-led, sort of organically grown businesses, so great in their local market, not really ready to be grown up and out into national players. We have management often without a lot of experience in private equity. So I'm sure you guys are all used to management coming back at you straight after an investment, telling you you're asking for too much, there's too much reporting. They're really not used to being asked questions or have people crawling all over them wanting to know where the money's gone. So that pace of change with private equity, the reporting requirements, all create a lot of distraction for management, and also cause quite a lot of, angst, I guess, in the relationship between the two, when really the GP and the management should be really, really aligned, particularly in the early days. Most of our businesses have no real project approach. They're used to just doing stuff. CEO will go, let's go off and do this thing, gets a bunch of people behind him or her, and they go off and try it. And the alignment of key people in the business, as a result, gets a little bit fraught and all over the place. And even more so, the alignment between the GP and the management can get all over the place. And then in our case, we're really focused on the use of operating partners to help with value creation and the execution with businesses. So people like myself, work really, really closely with management to help them execute on their business strategies. So the coordination of operating partners is a really big challenge for us. We're a relatively small team, and to try and spread everyone across a bundle of portfolio companies can become a challenge. We've heard from before, lots of times when you look at the best companies in the world, people will tell you that success is really all about strategy. But I think if you thought this before, after your own discussion and chat tonight, you probably realise now that success really is about strategy, but really more about the execution. And even some of the most sort of pig-headed leaders in the world, like Winston Churchill there, will tell you that. So, I guess we all know now, I could probably sit down, we all know the answers, right? We know what we need to do. Jeroen's told us, given us the toolkit, we could all probably go home or have a beer. But the reality is, as Jeroen said, is 40 to 60% of companies still don't realise their full value. And that, I think, is probably the million-dollar question that we all sit and try and answer every single day. So let me tell you now just a little bit about why BSO have really worked hard with EXM, and a little bit about our experience here. So if you look at what we have and what we had when we met these guys, we had a brilliant team led by a couple of identical twins, Ian and Craig Baldwin, really focused, really committed, knew their stuff inside out. We'd done a huge amount of detailed upfront business planning, and we had a highly actionable strategic plan. We actually spent an awful lot of money, probably gave me palpitations as a chairman, on working with the Javelin Group, who are one of the leading, if not the leading, consultancy in retail and e-commerce, creating this step-by-step plan, working with the management and the board, creating a step-by-step plan of where we're going to take this business over the next 5 years. And so really we had all of the tools that we needed to execute on our strategy. But what we also had was a small early stage company with limited, if you can kind of read, none, project framework or governance. We had opportunistic projects popping up, that whole CEO, let's do this, and everyone will be diverted across. Without really thinking, it was a great idea, but we didn't really think about whether we were going to create any value from those initiatives and projects. And we were tracking all this progress, this great plan that we had through a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, and I think we've heard that a lot tonight. And I think, there's room for Excel spreadsheets, but if any of you have tried to manage a project and get everyone's inputs through an Excel spreadsheet, you'll know the pain of doing that. You can get there, but it's an awful lot of resource and hassle, frankly. So we knew that we needed a tool, and on our shopping list really was a reliable view of progress so that we could see what was going on. We wanted ease of update, so we didn't want the whole Excel spreadsheet hassle. And I wanted a flag of when new things hit the plan, as it were. And it's not uncommon for us to have a notification come through from EXM, and I'm straight on the phone asking, what the heck is that? Or words to that effect. Enter EXM, and I guess what we got out of there was all of our plan. You don't need to worry about the detail of what came out of that really detailed Javelin work. We got our progress against each of them, our owners. So all of the stuff really that, if we're honest, you can get in pretty much any project tracker in the world. But what we didn't really think about when we were looking for a tool was being able to track the outcomes of those initiatives. So being able to say right at the start of an initiative or a project, what are we going to get out of this thing? And then track that as we went through. And that's been a huge value creation thing for us in terms of being able to see whether the things we planned actually come to fruition, and then if they don't, we can step back and look at what else we've got on our plan just to follow that through. As I said before, there are other ways to track projects, and so really the bigger value I think that we needed to get out of the EXM tool was something that we could use across our whole portfolio. It's great that individual companies have progress and visibility, etc. But what we're starting to see out of the EXM tool now is being able to link up all of the various stakeholders. So if you look up here, you've got right at the top there, you've got your people and your who are charged with executing on the plan, who are feeding into the EXM all of the outcomes and outputs of their plans. It's feeding the CEO, who's able to see a holistic view of progress without chasing and without having to maintain a spreadsheet themselves. Beyond that, you're seeing the information flow from a single input coming through to the GP level, and then as we get more and more of our portfolio companies on board, seeing that information flow through to our investors in a report. You might look at that and go, you know, again, we've got people that do that, but being able to have a single input where that feeds so many stakeholders is massive. So, what's the verdict? We were looking for our reliable view of progress, we got that. It's easy to update, you know, and we've worked hard with the guys to improve that over our journey. And I am getting my flag of new projects, so I can rest easy that the guys are concentrating on the right things. But what we're also getting is that tracking of actual outcomes, so the financial outcomes and our KPIs from our planned initiatives. It's created a natural alignment between all the individuals, through right from the the executives' KPIs and comp, through to the CEO, through to the GP and beyond. It creates a project framework by default, which is kind of handy rather than going off to read 100 books about what framework you should adopt. You've got that straight off the bat, and the integrated reporting to the back office is a nice sort of plus point that we've got there. So, job done. Is that it? I don't think so. We've got our excellent people. We've now got a strategy and a tracking and alignment tool. It certainly doesn't take away the need to execute. Leadership, alignment, execution, all the things that Jeroen talked about, absolutely still required. But what this tool does is it's given us an ability to require our management and to allow them to focus almost entirely on that, rather than being distracted by a whole bunch of Excel spreadsheets and lots of questions from Cairngorm Capital. So look, that's all I've got to say on it. I think there's a beer waiting, is there not? Or are you going to have some questions first? All right, thank you.